Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the news trade edition of 21st and 22nd of September, wherein we try and make all important news of the days in the most simplest format for you guys to understand. So let's look at the important news which we're going to cover today. First is India's manufacturing export has strengthened as the merchandise trade has stabilized. Then world's largest neutrino detector has been activated underground in China. Palestinian state has been recognized by UK, Canada, Portugal, and Australia. Ministry of Commerce and Industry has launched key initiatives for logistics sector. Then Global Climate and Health Alliance has released a report on health toll of fossil fuels. And Ministry of Finance has given infrastructure status to large ships in India. We're also going to cover place in news, that is Baltic Sea, along with quick updates for the day. So the very first news, again a good news, that again India's manufacturing sector or India's export has strengthened, and the contribution, the major credit has been given to the idea of merchandise trade. What exactly are these merchandise? So basically trade in goods, which are physical goods, right, not services. So again, services is not included in this. So again, it is telling that the Indian manufacturing export has been increasing due to the better performance of these merchandise trade. Clear? Again, the amount is, again, there is no major jump, but again, in a situation like this is something which is a good thing for India, which is talking about again how manufacturing sector is also performing well in India. So the rate is of course 2.5%, but again overall it is a good signal as far as the manufacturing sector of economy is concerned. Again, important for your paper number 3, that is industrial policy. So let's look at that, what exactly this report has been talking about in terms of its performance. If we talk about, let's say number 1, if we talk about, let's say, the manufacturing export has increased, it is somewhere telling that again the manufacturing sector is of course performing well. So this is something which this report has been talking about. There are few terms which you might come across when you read news. For example, the index of industrial production. Again, you need to know that which body releases this particular index. What does the index talk about? There are a bunch of industrial products on a monthly basis. Let's say this index is basically released, right? So this is telling that again the manufacturing has increased, and it has increased by approximately 3.5% in July 2025, and manufacturing sector has been contributing overall, and it is leading at a 5.4% of growth rate. So again, in short, the manufacturing sector is doing well. Then the second credit has been given to the operating conditions. That again, how exactly we are operating these manufacturing sector in the economy, right? So there is one index. This index is basically called as Purchasing Managers Index. Again, why I am highlighting these kind of things is because this is somewhere, it is a probable question for your prelims examination, right? They can ask you about purchasing managers index. So basically the operational managers are surveyed, they are given a set of questionnaire, and they are, on the basis of that, their response is being processed, and then again this index is being released. It is talking generally about that how at an operational ease the manufacturing sector is operating in the country. So there are two benchmarks. If the number is above 50, it is something good. If it is less than 50, then again we have a slowdown. So currently, after 17 years, we have reached 59.3 marks. So again, this is something talking about a good health of manufacturing sector. And lastly, investment confidence. The foreign direct investment in the manufacturing sector has been there, and it had grew by 18%, which is telling the maybe how much investor are getting confident with respect to investment in the manufacturing sectors of India. So these are the major conditions or maybe situations which talk about how our manufacturing sector has been performing well, which is leading to growth of export from this particular sector. Then in general, with respect to exports, So there are different exports which India does from manufacturing sector. Among them, few of them have been doing exceptionally well. When we start to talk about the electronic domain, so in the electronic sector, we have been performing well, and the smartphones which you use, so again, the dependence on foreign countries' smartphones has reduced, although Apple has launched a new iPhone. So then generally, again, this is the data which tells that again, the import of these cell phones have dropped down from, let's say, by 75% to just 0.02% in 24 and 25. It is giving a commendable achievement of Make in India initiative as far as the electronic sector is being concerned. This is one major thing, and in fact, India is the second largest mobile phone maker in the country. Again, very important facts for your prelims examination. Then in terms of pharmaceutical industry, so the industry has been the third largest pharmaceutical sector among the world, and India is doing well on these front as well. And again, major exports have been done from pharmaceutical industry as well. That has been the situation over here. The supply has increased maybe 50% of global vaccines at a global level. Then in the automotive sector, we have been doing well. The automotive sector is contributing 7.1% of GDP, which is very good, fairly good, and India is among top 4 automobile producers in the world in the domain of textiles. Very interesting fact over here. We know that the agricultural sector of economy is contributing majorly to the employment in the country. And again, major employment is there in the agricultural sector. But again, after that, the largest employment chunk you're going to find out in the textile sector, which is given the credit of second largest employee after agriculture, and it is contributing 2.3% to GDP. And again, it is approximately 80% of capacity is among the micro, small and medium enterprises, which is again are talked about as the powerhouse of these manufacturing sectors. So this is the areas which has been given credit as far as exports from manufacturing sector is concerned. Then in general, what schemes government have been launching with respect to, we talk about, let's say, manufacturing sectors. Then there are, again, you must have come across these schemes many a time. So number one is production linked incentive scheme. Again, what is PLI scheme? I have discussed many times, but again, just to brief you one more time. Let's say we are in 2023. A company A has manufactured, let's say, 100 products of a particular thing. As far as maybe, let's say, in 2024, same company A has manufactured 150 products. So 100 products in the year 23, 150 products in the year 24. So how many extra? 50 extra. So the company will be getting some incentive on these 50 extra products which it has manufactured. So the government has identified 14 key sectors under the production linked incentive scheme for which maybe credit is being given to them, some incentive is being given to them for extra piece of manufacturing they are doing. Again, talking about the idea of Make in India, boosting production of the manufacturing sector, which is again going to take away a lot of problems of economy. Then we have, certainly we are talking about manufacturing policy. Why? Generally, if you have read economics, you must have seen that again, we have jumped from agricultural boom to service sector boom. We have not explored the potential of this manufacturing sector. And if we are talking about the growth of Indian economy, this is one major sector which has a huge amount of potential. And again, government has been giving equal attention and again more attention to this sector. And that is where we have the manufacturing mission, which is announced in this year's budget, for a long-term industrial roadmap of India. Then we have Skill India program, because again we know that again if manufacturing sector is going to be, let's say, developing, it will create a huge amount of employment opportunities. But again, people need to be trained enough to work in this manufacturing sector. This is where Skill India mission is again targeting maybe people with tech-based skills, so that again they are job ready with the increasing influence of this manufacturing sector. And lastly, we are recently, the GS 2.0 reforms has again given a boost by cutting down, let's say, GST rates on few of the products, simplifying the tax cost cuts for manufacture, which is again going to be reflected in the price and again giving boost to the entire sector. So these are the few things which has been talking about the idea of what are the initiatives taken by the government as far as the manufacturing sector of the country is concerned. Very important topic for your examination. You can see maybe the kind of index, the kind of, let's say, pointers which I discussed. This will be a probable questions maybe in your prelims examination. As far as mains is concerned, maybe on the ideas of industrial policy, development, the scope and potential which this manufacturing sector has, it can also be discussed maybe as far as any question is being concerned. That is how this could be reflected in prelims and mains examination. Moving on to the next topic is world's largest neutrino detector has been activated underground. I understand many times students who read tech-based news or science-based news, they get confused, who have maybe no background of science, right? So this is where you just need to understand this fact that again, although it is a science-based question or a science-based topic, so technically, you are going to be future civil servants. So again, you are going to read them from a generalistic perspective. Don't try to be, let's say, become a scientist, or again, you need to know everything about the technicality of the project. No, a basic information as far as a civil servant is required to function in the government domain, that amount of knowledge is important for you to understand. And that is where maybe talking about all subjects which you read in the examination, every subject, every subtopic of your syllabus is something which you are going to do once you become a civil servant. Everything has an application in your journey of this civil services, right? So neutrino is basically a particle, right? So again, you talk about electron, proton, neutron, just like that. Neutrino is a kind of subparticle, very small, very tiny. So recently in China, one of the neutrino detector. So what exactly is a neutrino detector? A mechanism in which we can detect the properties and can study the neutron. That is the neutron detector. Clear? I'll understand and make you understand the physical qualities of this neutron and why it is important to study these neutrons, right? So currently in China we have Juno, right? So this is somewhere in underground, 700 meters underground, this detector has been activated. Why? Right? And the why reason, of course, is going to come up once we are going to read that in this, the basic observation around the neutrinos. So again, they're technically called as ghost particles. Why ghost? Not visible to naked eyes, they can pass through your body, right? So maybe in the fictional movies you must have watched that again, ghost usually crosses our body and again we cannot observe them, we cannot experience them. Similarly, these are basically ghost particles, which is very, very, very small, and in fact the second smallest particle after, let's say, photons, that is light, maybe light particles. So the first important property is that they are subatomic particle. They do not carry any kind of electric charge, unlike protons, electrons, right? So no electric charge, technically no mass, right? So some particle, imagine, no charge, no mass, how can you detect them? But again, they have a lot of functional, let's say, properties which is important for them to be studied. So they are very tiny parts. And even if, let's say, I'm standing here or you are sitting there, maybe multiple neutrons must have been passing through you, but again, you cannot observe them, cannot feel them, right? So that is how it is. So the features includes, they travel almost at a speed of light. They don't get disturbed by magnetic field. Again, if neutrons are going to pass through a magnetic field, it is not going to change its any of the behavior. So again, they are not detectable by magnetic fields as well. Then they travel straight lines. From point source to up in a particular area, they travel in a very straight line. So for example, and they are basically released whenever there is an explosion of suns or star, right? So these are the basic properties, and why it is very hard to detect them, because they barely interact. Because if they are passing through magnetic field, they are not reacting. They have no charge, they have no mass. They can they are very tiny, they travel a very fast speed, it becomes very difficult to study them, to track them, right? And that is where this observatory has been developed by China underground, so that its interaction from other things in the atmosphere could be minimized to the minimum level, so that again they can be detected and they can be studied. Understood? Okay. Then in terms of Juno's main goal, so again, uh, in fact, these neutrinos again are of three types, right? So one is electron neutrino, muon neutrino, and tau neutrino, right? So basically, among these neutrinos, this China's observatory is going to observe that again which neutrino is the heaviest among these three nucleotypes which we have discussed. Clear? That is the main purpose of this observatory. And then we have again a term of oscillation frequency. Again, you must have known oscillation is just like this. So again, in terms of studying the property of which one is heavy, right? So the neutrino under this closed observatory are going to be studied, detected, and again this neutrino also has a property that again while in their course from source to the point when they travel, they change their shape and property among these three. Maybe electro can transform to muon, a muon can transform to tau. So again, this is how it becomes very difficult to study and exactly know which one of them is the heaviest one, right? So this property of changing its nature from one neutrino to other is basically called as neutrino oscillation. This is also going to be observed in this particular laboratory, and it is basically going to observe then how fast this change from one form of neutrino to other form is happening. That is the prime purpose of this basically observatory, right? So again, they can basically ask questions around again what is neutrino, what is some time back Juno, let's say, was in news, it is related to what, which place, right? What is maybe let's say oscillation frequency, what are the different types of neutrino, maybe question on the basic, they can give you consider the following statements about neutrino, they can ask you about the basic properties what we have discussed. So these kind of questions are probable as far as prelims question of the examination is concerned. Then in general, why do neutrino matter? Because as I discussed, the properties we know, right? So among them, it is, again, the origin is something which we have discussed, studying it started with the Big Bang, right? As these particles do not change their nature upon interaction, they have maybe, they're completely immune from any kind of changes once they travel from a source to different areas in a straight line, right? It is going to help us understand the Big Bang, because many things have changed after Big Bang. But again, as these neutrinos are maybe very much immune from any magnetic electric field, so again it is going to help us in the study of the Big Bang. And again, basically talking about the space. Then we have supernova messengers, because once any interaction, let's say just like Big Bang, maybe there are many a times cosmic events happened. So again, these neutrinos are going to be transferred and they travel with the speed of light, and if we are able to detect these neutrinos, that is why the detectors have been there, it is going to talk us and give us predict and in general know about any cosmic event which is happening, right? And then in general, the physics which we are studying today, and again there are still a lot of topics which is unexplored, which are yet to be known. Why does matter exist, what are other different forms of matter and its properties, all of them is going to be helping us through this observation of neutrino. And that is why many countries, not just China, in fact India is also planning for an observatory. So let's look at where they are. So in terms of India, India-based neutrino observatory is going to be maybe constructed in Tamil Nadu, which is still under development. In the southern pole, we have a ice cube neutrino observatory. It means what? In China, the Juno talked about underground. In South Pole, we have ice cube. Maybe in the ice depth, we are observing this neutrino, right? So again, maybe the idea is to make that whole study environment less maybe interactive with the surroundings, so that again this neutrino can be observed. Clear? So again, in China, again they have what we call as Trident, which is a planned deep sea neutrino telescope. Again, under the sea we also have, under ice we have, underground we have, right? And in USA, the name is called as Dune, which is again a neutrino observatory, which is a massive experiment under the underground labs, right? So again, prelims-based questions are very much probable from these kind of news. Again, I'll tell you one. You saw this? South Pole, we have ice cube neutrino. Let's look at one question. In the context of modern scientific research, consider the following statements about ice cube, a particle detector located at South Pole, which was recently seen in news. Right? So maybe they can ask you the same question with one change, Juno, in news. Again, basic facts. Right? So again, read them and again search about it and tell me in comment what would be the answer of this particular question. Right? I'm picking out important topics and the nature of question, and this is where you are also, as a candidate who are studying for current affairs, you are yourself capable enough to observe and understand what could be the nature of question which could be framed from the topics whatever you are reading, even for prelims or either for your mains examination. The next topic is again Israel-Palestine issue, very much in news, and again the whole region of West Asia is in disturbance. So recently, United Kingdom, Canada, Portugal and Australia has been given that again we are recognizing Palestine as a state, right? Again, I'm going to discuss why it is important for a particular country to be getting recognized as a state. So till now, 140 plus countries has been recognizing, let's say, Palestine as a separate state, right? And again, India specifically has given this observation or has recognized Palestine as a state in the year 1988 itself, long time back, right? And in fact, India has supported the cause in the UN, where again we have a New York Declaration, right, which is talking about the two-nation, two-state solution. Consider Israel as one state, Palestine as a different state. That is the idea of two-state solution to the problem of Israel-Palestine issue. So again, India has been again supporting the whole idea of giving a state status to Palestine since 1988, and in UN New York Declaration. Why important facts? They can ask you in prelims, New York Declaration. They can ask you in prelims, two-state solution is related to maybe dispute between which two countries, right? Such nature of questions are important. They can ask you which new set of countries has very recently recognized Palestine as a state. UK, Canada, Portugal, Australia, right? So again, predict the nature of questions as you study the current affairs, right? Before that, why it is important, let's say if a country is being recognized as a state, right? Example, I maybe discussed, let's say this is school, right? And there are one school which is not getting recognized. So let's say if a school is recognizing other school, it means what? It means maybe let's say if there is a tournament or inter-school tournament, if the school is being recognized, it can also participate. Student exchange program can also happen. Similarly, if a particular area is or a particular country is being recognized as a state, it can enjoy different kind of benefits, and that is something which is again very important, again a point for your prelims examination, that again we have a Montevideo Convention of 1933, which is basically talking about that in order to become a state, following 4 conditions must to be satisfied. Very important topic for your again prelims exams. They can ask you, consider the following 4 conditions as per which, as per the Montevideo Convention, in which is going to recognize a particular country as a state or not, or a particular region as a state or not. What are those 4 conditions? Number 1, it should have a permanent population. Matlab people will be living over there permanently. Then it should have a defined territory, a fixed land area. Then it should have a government. There should be because if there is a state, there has to be government, an authority, right, that rule that particular area, right, or administer that particular area. And then we have capacity for foreign relations, right. So again, if a particular region is going to talk at an international level, interact with different other countries, make agreements. So these are the 4 conditions which is classifying, and based on these 4 conditions, a particular region is being classified as a state or not. What happens? Maybe if a particular region has been given a status of a state, it can do what? It can make diplomatic relations, it can open up embassies, there would be ambassadors of those countries in other countries of the region. Then we have, it can sign treaties with other states, it can have international agreements, then it can get rights and privileges of international statehood, right? Different international platforms, it can have a say in them. Then it also being able to apply, become a member of United Nations. Again, as of now, Palestine is a not member of United Nations. It is just it is having a permanent observer status at a UN and not a full member. Acha, my one question to you is, can United Nations give Palestine a state status? Think. The answer is yes or no. Of course, no. Why? Because UN is not a country. UN is basically an organization which has been there, and member countries have a authority, or they can recognize a particular region as a state or not. So UN has no say. So technically we are the United Nations Security Council, right? It is something which is still on the verge of giving, let's say, maybe Palestine a state status. So the UN General Assembly, United Security Council, all of these have what? Member countries. So these member countries which are there in these setup are the ones who are going to recognize Palestine as a state. UN as a body has no role on this, right? And in fact, this move has been a development where again, the Western countries, specifically US, other regions, have not been in support of giving Palestine a state status. But again, this recent recognition by UK, Australia, and maybe other Canada, right? It is some Portugal. It is something again changing the whole dynamics around giving the state status to Palestine, right? So again, important facts, important convention, which we have discussed, can be a question in your prelims examination. The next topic is, Ministry of Commerce and Industry has launched key initiatives for logistics sector of India. Again, we have discussed many a times the logistics sector. What are logistics sector? We have manufacturing. In factories, products are getting manufactured, but again, these goods which are getting manufactured, they need to be sent to different places. So this process of movement of goods from its place of manufacturing to the actual area where again it is going to be consumed, used, the sector which is helping that is basically called as logistics sector. The roads, the railways, the ports for international exports, all of these constitutes the logistics sector. So government has been talking about a good amount of effort to improve this logistics sector, because as of now, maybe we are not that much efficient as far as logistics sector is concerned. Technically understand, maybe a manufacturer is producing a particular product at, let's say, 10 rupees, assume. But the shipping cost, maybe the transportation cost is, let's say, 8 rupees. How can you expect the manufacturer or the final price to get reduced if the shipping cost is very much? Assume, let's say, if you do couriers, right? So again, if you do courier from, let's say, place A in a country to place B, the courier charge is dependent upon the amount of distance. And assume that again, if you are doing a courier from India to any other country, let's say US, any country, so what are the charges? So again, this is how the logistics sector has a very important role to play as far as the final price of the product which we are consuming is concerned. And this is where government has been doing a lot of effort in order to improve the efficiency of logistics sector of India. So 4 new key initiatives has been launched by the government. Let's say number 1 is assessment of logistic costs in India. Firstly, sir, before discussing, it is very important that what exactly is the current cost with respect to manufacturing sector in India. So again, one body has been constituted which is going to check that again, if logistic cost is high, how much high it is, and because after knowing that high cost of logistic, we are going to better frame the policies in respect to that particular sector. So again, this is released by National Council of Applied Economics Research, NCAER, again fact for your prelims examination. So what they have found out, and again the logistic cost is in India is costing approximately 7.97% of GDP. Assume 8% of what we make is again spent on the logistics sector. And if this 8% is reduced, don't you think how much of this can be used in healthcare, education, and other developmental activities? That is where we are focusing more on improving the efficiency of logistics sector, right? And it is 24 lakh crores, very high, approximately high. And again, among them, the highest cost is contributed to the road transportation, which we do for maybe movement of goods. So again, this is one thing which is discussed, and the next after road is the storage and warehousing. So these are the major ones who has been taking up a lot of money as far as logistics sector of India is concerned. So again, this is the body which is releasing that what amount is being spent across the logistics sectors in different modes. Clear? Then we have integrated state city logistic plans. Again, SMILE program. What is SMILE? SMILE stands for strengthening multimodal. Sir, what is multimodal? It is or maybe using multiple modes of transport: roads, railways, ports, airways, right? And integrated. So again, multimodal, and everything should be integrated to each other. That is how we should not focus in silos. Let's say, why to focus one body is only focusing on roads, one body is only focusing on, let's say, railways, one is let's say focusing on air transport development. Why not to integrate the effort so that again a holistic development of the entire logistics sector could be there? And through this SMILE program, we are targeting firstly the 8 cities in the 8 states. And firstly, this program is being targeted on these states after a performance on these particular, or observing the status of these particular cities. We are going to come up with a national level launch for this. This is being supported to us by Asian Developmental Bank, which is providing the financial support, right? So again, in this, we are spotting that again, what are the issues? Do we have poor roads? That is leading to slow loading, missing warehouses, and under this program, a roadmap has to be suggested for improvement of logistic in these states. Clear? Then we have the next program which has been launched is Logistic Data Bank. So again, what exactly and how does it function? So maybe once you do a courier, right? So don't you get a tracking number? In this tracking number, you're going to track down where exactly is your courier. In a similar manner, the entire logistics sector, whenever a person or a manufacturer is transporting a good from place A to place B, right? In that course of travel of that particular product, under this initiative, maybe the manufacturers or the exporters of products are going to track down in a live manner. Even if a particular good is transported across a sea route, which is very difficult to track, right? This particular program is helping, just like a GPS is attached to that particular product, so that a real-time monitoring of that particular product is being done. That is the whole idea of this Logistic Data Bank 2.0, right? Again, developed by, very important fact for a prelims examination, it is built by National Industrial Corridor Developmental Program Logistic Data Services. This is the body which is releasing this particular logistic data bank. Again, real-time status, right? So again, helping you down to better track the logistic which you are transporting. Then we have LEADS, that is logistics ease across different states. So again, in the lines of World Bank Logistic Performance Index, India has been doing well, but again, we still need to do more. So Indian government has launched these LEAD program, which is helping the government to track how efficient are the logistics sector across different states of the country, right? So this particular program is inspired by the World Bank Logistic Performance Index, and again, it is ranking states and how efficient their logistics are. So two new features have been added under this LEADS program in 2025. So again, we are checking performance of 5 to 7 key transportation corridors. For example, by journey time, let's say if particular product A is traveling from one place to the destination place B, what is the time it is being taken down, right? What is the speed of the truck? How much time the truck is waiting in the period of journey or transportation? Many such parameters are being added so that again we can track that which are the specific areas which is leading to more time consumption or being the, let's say, or decreasing the efficiency of this logistics sector. We have one more thing, that is API technology. What is this API technology? Application Programming Interface. For example, again, as I discussed, we have a data bank. So again, once a product is shipped from place A to a destination B, again, we can track it down. So again, just like a GPS, so again, this data is being fed to a software. So again, the government can actually know, let's say if goods are being transported to, let's say from Delhi to maybe Mumbai, what is the average time which these trucks are taking? What is the time in which is maybe lost by maybe, let's say a truck which is situated in a toll? How much toll time is being taken in the journey of a logistic from place A to place B? All such mechanisms can be tracked through this particular technology, which is going to help better frame policies around the logistics sector of India. Very important topic for your examination, because we have been doing exceptionally government targeting very much on this particular sector. It has been used multiple number of times. So again, some repetitive news which are coming again and again, that makes that topic important for your examination, or in general as well. Maybe in the question of economics, you can write about maybe how a well performance and around the topic of logistics is again important for an overall development of economy. Clear? Then the next topic is the Global Climate and Health Alliance, again a body, has basically released a report which is called as Cradle to Grave, the Health Toll of Fossil Fuels. We all talk about fossil fuels, right? So fossil fuels we have many times heard in terms of climate change, in the terms of let's say air pollution, or maybe the damages which they are doing to environment. But again, this report has suggested that again it is also taking a toll on health. It has observed and shared the report that since maybe cradle means since the time a person or a child is in the belly of a woman or maybe her mother, till that time to the old age, that particular person is affected due to the harmful effects of fossil fuels. Again, an important topic as far as health topic of paper number 2 is concerned. Let's look at what this report has suggested. Number 1, at all life stages, people are getting affected due to fossil fuels. Again, many times you must have observed that again, children are born with certain kind of deformities, again, due to fossil fuel. The impact or the damages or the harmful gases, once it is maybe women who are carrying these child are exposed to them, right? And that is affecting the child even in the womb. And not just the entire life cycle, from the place in womb till the old age, people are affected health-wise from these fossil fuels. So diseases are including asthma, cancer, heart problems, all of these are associated with fossil fuel. Then we have every stage is harmful, because fossil fuel goes through a lot of stage. Extraction is happening, refining and transport is happening of the fossil fuel. Then it is burned, it is combustion where it is exactly used. Then again, the dumping site or the abandonment areas from where this mining has happened. All of these are releasing harmful amount of gases which are affecting health, right? That is, let's see one by one. In the mining process, it releases different kind of harmful gases, for example, benzene, heavy metals, radioactive materials, again very harmful for health. Then once they are refined in the refineries, once they are transported, they are releasing toxins like toluene and volatile organic compounds, VOCs. Once they are burnt and very important aspect of air pollution which you may have heard, again that is something very general, and again this is the one which is causing the idea of climate change, right? And then the mines, which once where drilling has happened, mining has happened, technically if after exploration they are basically left just like that, and these are also releasing harmful gases which are very harmful for your health. Then in terms of legacy pollution, so what are these legacy pollution? Because many times you must have seen whenever there are abandoned sites which has been there since many ages, these are basically called as legacy waste. So all of these mining areas which are basically let's say refineries leave behind chemicals which are called as lead, mercury, PFAs, which are forever chemicals. If they're not treated, they stay in environment forever. So these are the ones which are also maybe getting, let's say, or impacting the soil, water, food, and even under the idea for biomagnification, right? You must have heard in environment, they are entering into the food chain, again taking a toll on health. Then we have unequal burden, again privileges ones in society. So there are marginalized sections of society, we have heard, maybe who have no access to, let's say, clean water, clean place to stay. They are the ones who are affected the most health-wise with the impact of fossil fuels, right? So these are the few areas which has been discussed in this particular report as far as the impact of fossil fuels on health is concerned. Then what are the policy recommendations that they have told? That again, in general, if you are going to talk about a clean future, an idea of sustainable development, this report has suggested few policy reforms, right? What are those? Maybe first thing is very basic: stop new fossil fuel projects, no new exploration, no new mines. In fact, spend the amount of which you are planning to use on fossil fuels in the idea of renewable energy, clean energy, eco-friendly practices. Then we have phase out subsidies, because in the production process a lot of subsidies are provided by governments. So stopping of these subsidies will disincentivize people to go for these exploration or fossil fuel, and again maybe incentivize or give subsidies for renewable energy so that again people can get attracted towards them or those areas. Then we have strict rules and monitoring. So again, pollution control has to be done. Maybe we can talk about polluter pay principle, right? Again, all the whole idea in the plastic pollution we have discussed, the extended producer responsibility. So again, the producers of these, let's say, fossil fuels should be the ones who should be maybe taking the accountability of this particular thing. Then again, in terms of cleaning of the legacy waste, the polluters should be the ones who should be cleaning and again taking out such legacy waste so that again the harmful impact of those could be minimized from the environment. And lastly, align global system, because whenever we are talking about developmental projects, fossil fuel comes, maybe the financial institutions should maybe giving more focus or funds to projects which are more eco-friendly and green in nature, right? So again, that is how this report has adjusted as far as the whole idea of impact of fossil fuel on health is discussed. Again, important topic for your examination. Maybe you can use about them. Maybe if you're discussing all the topic of health, you can include an environmental angle as well by discussing the impact of fossil fuel on the health, which this report has suggested. You can quote the report that according to this report, this is something which is talking about the impact of fossil fuel as far as health is concerned. Clear? The next topic is Ministry of Finance has given infrastructure status to large ships in India. So again, what is infrastructure status? What are large ships? That is important to understand so that again we can study the topic. Again, important for your paper number 3 topic of infrastructure. So basically, what are these? Again, Ministry of Finance has given infrastructure status to the large ships in India, right? So basically, infrastructure status means, because if I talk about infrastructure, what comes to your mind? Roadways, railways, airports, right? So again, if large ships are also given infrastructure status, they can enjoy all the benefits all the support which government is giving to these infrastructure sectors of road, railways, airways, right? So that is the importance of getting the large ships as a infrastructure, which has been given by, again, very important, which ministry has given? Ministry of Finance. Such small reading is where prelims questions get framed in the examination, right? Maybe they can talk about, because generally if I talk about shipping and again giving them infrastructure, I cannot take a guess that again it could be done by Ministry of Finance, right? That is something which is again maybe a trick question which UPSC basically frames in the examination, right? So what exactly are these large ships? Again, important fact for a prelims examination. Let's say if a particular ship is of certain specific let's say specification. For example, it has a gross tonnage or GT. What is gross tonnage? Basically, it means the total size of the ship divided by weight capacity of a particular ship. If this is beyond 10,000 or more, and if it is owned by an Indian owner and maybe carrying an Indian flag, they will be categorized as large ships. The second one is, again, very important to understand here, if it has a GT of 15,000. So again, why we are giving 10,000 to one ship and again 1,500 to one ship? Why? Because these ships are made in India, right? So again, to support the idea of make in India, because again, the ownership to be categorized as large ship and to be getting an infrastructure status, the ownership of the ship should belong to an Indian owner, right? And again, it should carry an Indian flag. And in fact, if that ship is manufactured in India, very much benefit is being given, that again by just having a capacity of 1,500, that could get a large ship status, right? So this is a very important development around the shipping industry in India. In general, why it is important? Because this development is important, because if it is getting an infrastructure status, it can easily borrow money and cheaply, right? Bigger loans from abroad, ECBs, because as an infrastructure, if it is getting category, it can go for external commercial borrowings. It can receive funds and support from the government, maybe through different policies, for example, viability gap funding, tax benefits, right? And again, encouraging the whole idea of make in India. Maybe if 1,500 is the capacity of to be categorized as a large ship, it is again going to be boosting the whole manufacturing of shipping in India. Clear? Then in general, India shipping sector status, which is not that much performing well. Why? Because 95% of the trade which is being done by India happens through the sea route, through these ships. But again, we have in fact, maybe very less ships which are of Indian origin. We are maybe using ships of different countries for transportation purpose. Again, logistic, understand, that makes this export, again increasing the price of logistic of transportation, because we do not have our own ships. We are borrowing, maybe understand, if you don't have your own car, but you want to travel from place A to, let's say, Delhi to Jaipur, you are taking someone else's car. So again, apart from the petrol charges, you are also going to pay for that car which you are borrowing. It is same thing which is happening over here, right? And it is amounting to approximately $75 billion every year. Very high, right? And then, as far as ship building is concerned, if the entire world is producing 100 ships, how many ships is being produced by India? 0.006% is a contribution of Indian ship building sector. That is again talking about the idea that again we need to work on the indigenous development of the ships within India, and by this is where the government has set up a goal by 2047. That is the whole idea of maybe celebrating Azadi ka, the Amrit Kal, that again we will be celebrating 100 years of independence. So again, we have planned that again we are going to be coming under the top 5 shipbuilding nations of the world. By investing $54 trillion, we can come to this achievement, which is Maritime Amrit Kal vision of 2047. Very important area and very important sector of maybe one of the component of logistics sector as well. Then, what are the current problems as far as shipping sector is concerned? Number one, we have discussed again very high cost. Ships are very old. Tax, maybe the shipping industry is not very tax friendly. Again, which is again leading to less investor friendly sector as far as the ship manufacturing is concerned. Skill gap. People are not skilled enough for making these ships. All of these are the factors which is contributing to less ship industries in India or ship manufacturing in India. For the government plan, government is not doing this. Government has planned to do this. Number one, what we have planned, we are going to make our own indigenous government shipping company, right? That is ship manufacturing company, that is Bharat Container Shipping Line, which is again an Indian container ship company under Shipping Corporation of India, right? Then we are promoting the idea of eco-friendly shipping, that is coastal green shipping corridor. First of those corridor has been built between Kandla port to Tuticorin, which is focusing on eco-friendly transportation through the sea route, so that again the whole idea of marine pollution could be curtailed, right? And then the Sagarmala Startup and Innovation Initiative S212 is again boosting startup in the ship manufacturing sector to support them through maritime innovation hubs. So these are the few government plans which we have been planning, so that again we can boost the entire shipping industry of the country. Clear? Very important topic as far as the infrastructure topic is concerned, or in general you can use them in the logistic wala aspect as well. Then moving on to the place in news, again very important. This time we have Baltic Sea. Again a lot of questions has already been asked by an examination. And again, it is basically denounced as the most youngest sea on the earth. Locate them in map. Read the entire neighboring countries, north to south, east to west, which are those. There are a lot of gulfs around this particular Baltic Sea, right? Gulf is around which two countries, very important to understand, neighboring countries to be read upon, right? It is also called as the largest brackish water body, right, which is very important component or a feature of this particular Baltic Sea. So locate in map, see the neighboring countries, locate the important gulfs, right, and again how they are connecting and it is basically a part of North Atlantic Ocean, right? So very important place which you are going to see in your map, and again there could be a question, because again physical maybe sea, neighboring countries on the sea, east west, let's say location wise, this has been already asked by UPSC. That makes these kind of topics important for the examination. Moving on to the quick updates for the day. So the very first is Industrial Park Rating System, IPRS 3.0. So again, industrial park, you know, because you must have come across maybe the parks where we have manufacturers, factories are there, we have, let's say, businesses, offices set up over there. That is basically called as an industrial park. So again, they are basically getting rank as well, that again among all the industrial parks of India, how they are performing. A rating is being given to them and a report card is being given to them. That is the idea of this particular rating system, again released by which ministry? Ministry of Commerce and Industry, prepared by Department of Promotion, Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, and again supported by Asian Developmental Bank. So again, three categories are prepared: leaders, challengers and aspirers, right? So again this is the categories, and again 3.0 version, basically we have seen a lot of development around of technology, and again how we have been talking about climate change, everything. So again new parameters have been added. So the new parameters which have been included in the 3.0 version is sustainability and green infrastructure. How much of these industrial parks is focusing on sustainability, logistic connectivity, then again digitization, skill linkages, talent feedback. All of the new parameters have been added in this rating system. The next topic is Project Vijayak of the Border Road Organization. So there was Operation Vijay, which was there in the Kargil War of 1999. Based on this, Border Road Organization is basically what? It again, the whole idea of making the whole region maybe development of roadways, so again better connectivity would be there. That is the basic idea of this particular or project. So again, it was raised in the year 2000, and again trying to connect the Kargil and Zanskar region. So again, earlier this project was known as Project Himank, but after Operation Vijay or the Kargil War of 1999, the name has been changed. So again, strengthening the whole idea of security infrastructure along the line of control, and basically making the whole region of Ladakh, which is remote, by making them more connected across by development of infrastructure. Again, they can ask you in prelims, Project Vijayak. So again, maybe we can get confused that again, is it something kind of a defense or military exercise? No, it is an initiative by Border Roads Organization. Clear? Then we have the next topic is Bagram Air Base. So again, this air base is in Afghanistan, which is located in the north of Kabul and the largest air base of Afghanistan. It was built by Soviet in the time of 1950s. Post 1990s, it has been the largest battleground between Taliban versus North Alliance. Again, we are very aware of the unfortunate, let's say, incident which has happened in the year 2001 in US. After that, US wanted to curb these, maybe stop the terror hub which was there in this particular region. So again, it acquired that particular airbase, right? And they left in the year 2021. We also know the whole maybe withdrawal of troops from US from Afghanistan. Now again, they are planning or in talk with acquiring this particular airbase for maybe what is the purpose, it is not much disclosed, but as of now they have been planning to again maybe have to regain control over the airbase. That is why this particular airbase is in news. Clear? Then we have extreme nuclear transients, ENTs. So again, a lot of times you must have seen astronomical events happen. So one of the new astronomical events has been observed. That is why we call it as extreme nuclear transition. So again, whenever heavy stars I mean, which is having 3x times more of mass of sun. So again, a big star, if it is getting or maybe interacting with a black hole, right? So with the sudden, once they interact, the star is bursted, and the light which is released, the energy which is released, that energy is basically called as extreme nuclear transients. As simple as that. Clear? So again, few terms. So whenever a star is nearing a black hole, that is a event horizon is happening. And again, the tidal force is basically stretching and compressing the whole interaction which is happening between the star and a black hole. This process is basically called as spaghettification, right? And they release a huge amount of electromagnetic energy, and this energy is basically called as extreme nuclear transients, right? So basic understanding, they can ask you what are extreme nuclear transients. These are basically the black hole star interactions which release these kind of electromagnetic energy. Clear? The next important news is Sawal Kote hydroelectric project. It is in news. Again, they can ask you the river name and the hydroelectric project. So basically, this is done on Chenab River, and it is located in the Ramban and Udhampur region of Jammu and Kashmir, and it is basically a run of the river project. Sir, which projects we are calling as run of the river project? Many times you have seen that how are hydroelectric generated, basically by having dams, right? So the energy of water or the stored water is being used for generation of hydroelectric. But here Chenab is a very fast flowing river. So the fast nature of this river is being used. So the fast river is passed through a turbine, and the fast current of the river is being used to move the turbine, and then electricity is generated, and the water is maybe then naturally given back to the river. So again, the fast speed of river is being used for generation of hydroelectric. That is making this whole process more eco-friendly in nature, and that is why this project was there, developed by National Hydroelectric Power Corporation, NHPC, which is again a mini Ratna company, category 1, called a public sector unit, PSU, again coming under Ministry of Power. So this project is basically waiting for an environmental clearance. That is why it was in news. The next is smog eating technology. So again, we are very well aware of the kind of air pollution which technically Delhi has. So Delhi government has been telling to study the application of this technology to stop the problem of air pollution. So basically, you understand, it's just like in the roads, there would be some kind of paint which has a component of what we call as titanium oxide. So again, in this paint, titanium oxide will be there. So whenever ultraviolet rays will be hitting these, let's say, particular paint, they will interact with titanium oxide and they will interact with the harmful nitrogen oxides and again harmful air pollutants which are there in the atmosphere, and they are going to maybe cut them down, and again they are going to, let's say, dissect them, and again they are going to release them. Harmless matter is going to be released in the form of water or nitrates by breaking these pollutants. So that is why it was in news. So again, basically very important for cutting the idea of smog and pollution, and again boosting the idea of public health with an idea of environment. Again, you can use these kind of examples maybe in your interviews, where again we are coming up with such new technologies to stop the problem of air pollution. Delhi government has been planning to do this, and they have basically asked to study the feasibility of this particular project. So that is why it was in news. The next important news is swell waves, which is basically in India called as Kalakad waves. So again, what are those? Again, many times once you have visited any pond, and again I'm assuming as a child we must have threw one stone in the pond and we see such ripples of water coming. Assume there is a huge storm which is there in the sea, and this huge storm is creating ripples of water in the sea, and the ripples of water are of very large wavelengths. Right? So such waves which are created by the huge strong storms in the sea, and the ripples which are being created are basically called as swell waves. In India it is called as Kalakadal waves, right? So again, they are they travel a very long distance, and long wavelength means because once a wave has been there, it takes the wavelength is very large, so that again it is not very easily detected. Because generally if you move around in shows, you see waves like this, we can see that there are waves, but some waves are of very long wavelength, so it is very hard to detect. And the recent study has highlighted maybe the eastern part or eastern coast, where again we have Sri Lanka. It is saving that region of India from the harmful impact of swell waves that has been discussed, right? So because the features are, they are not affected by local winds and currents, very high storm which is hitting in the seas that is creating these swell waves, right? And they are locally known as Kalakadal waves, which is again given UNESCO status, so that again it can be used. Significance for India, because Sri Lanka landmass is shielding India from the east coast, and they are very risk, because the risk of flooding and erosion from southern Asian swells has been there. And why hard to detect? They have low frequency, and but they have no white caps, because generally you see what are white caps, you see a white foam around a kind of a thing once waves reaches the shore. These are not observed in the swell waves. That makes this waves to be detected, not to be detected very easily. Clear? Important question for your prelims examination as far as the geography part is concerned. The last news is Dada Saheb Phalke Award. Again, it is the highest honor award being awarded for the contributions in Indian cinema. And again, lifetime achievement, lifetime contribution award has been given by President of India on commencing the birth anniversary of Dada Saheb Phalke, who is called as the father of Indian cinema. In the year 1969 it was started, and the first recipient is Devika Rani. Again, important award, you are going to remember it for your examination purpose. With this we come to an end of today's discussion. So all important questions which could be framed from the topics which I have discussed will be popping up in your screen. It is very important that you solve those questions. Please post your answers in the comment section, so that again it can create a competitive spirit around all the students who are watching this edition of Vision IAS. So lastly, Vision has come up with a digital current affairs platform which which is a one-stop solution for all your current affairs issues. Please go and navigate the website. It is certainly going to help you a lot in terms of your current affairs preparation. All the very best, and thank you so much.